Good afternoon, Minnesota FFA members, families, and special guests. My name is Madison Taylor, and this is my sister Meredith and my brother Graydon. Graydon, can you tell me what you see when you look outside the window each morning?
I see the rising sun.
Meredith, what do you think of when you see the rising sun?
When I see the rising sun, I see beauty, warmth, and rays of light stretch out to touch and include everything in its path.
Graydon, does this remind you of anything or anyone?
Yes, it reminds me of my sister Grace.
We are so proud to introduce our sister, who is full of beauty, warmth, and light, who is always stretching out to include everyone she meets to share her passion for agricultural education and FFA.
FFA members and guests, it is our pleasure to introduce to you the one that is stationed beneath the rising sun with her retiring address entitled Through the Eyes of Grace, our sister,
and your 2018-2019 Minnesota FFA State President,
Grace Taylor.
To be.
I bet I could guess what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, this girl up here on stage just named a speech after herself. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking it's a good thing my parents didn't follow through on their original plan to name me Olive. That doesn't work very well for a speech title. You see, since I was not named after a vegetable, wait. Is an olive a vegetable? Thumbs up if you think an olive is a vegetable. Thumbs down if you think it's something else. Final answer, yes. Since I was not named after a vegetable, rather than growing up being called Ollie or Veggie, I grew up known as Grace, or something like that. My volleyball teammates knew me as Ace or Gracer, my sister's friends knew me as Space, and my close friends knew me as Gracie, all which seem like natural variations of my name. Then there's my dad, who calls me Grape Ape, my brother, who calls me Grass, and my extended family, who used to call me Poltergrace, like the ghost. Grace, however, is more than just my name. It's also an important value in my life. Just as some of my nicknames fell pretty far from Grace, I think we all end up pretty far from Grace at one time or another. Have you ever been part of a conversation where your parents are talking to you, maybe your friends or your advisor, and you kind of zone out, you're not really listening, so you just smile and nod? Yeah, you guys been there? I've been there. I have no idea what Laura said to me at breakfast this morning. So I've come to realize that this is what happens when people talk about grace. It's a small word with large meaning. So let's take a minute to define it. Grace has two common definitions. The first of these being a charming characteristic, refinement of movement, or simple elegance, something I'm probably not qualified to talk about. The second of these definitions, the one that we're going to focus on today, is courteous goodwill. I see you guys smiling and nodding at me, like, yes, courteous goodwill, Grace. Yes, I agree with you that this definition is vague, and it doesn't make sense right away. But I would venture to say that it is rightfully and intentionally vague. In my experience, grace doesn't look the same in every moment. It isn't defined the same by everyone, and every day we can give and receive grace in a new way. Last year, it was a vote of confidence from my parents as I decided to run for state office. Last month, it was support and encouragement from state staff after I missed a deadline. Last week, it was a fresh bottle of water from a stranger as I was crying in the library. No doubt, no anger, no questions, just grace. I heard someone say once that grace draws a circle around everyone and tells them that they're in. I think this sums up how I've come across grace in my life. But what does it look like in yours? Here at the University of Minnesota, I am part of a student group called Lutheran Campus Ministry, LCM for short. At LCM, we try to interact, spend time with, and learn from other faith groups on campus. Last spring, we held an event called an Interfaith Dinner. It was a sit-down meal with my group, LCM, and MSA, or the Muslim Student Association. This event intrigued me because the goal of it was not to convince the others that they were wrong. It was not to make them believe what we believe, and it was not to argue. Rather, this event was designed to spend time with each other, to learn from one another, and to share something with one another. When I arrived at the dinner, I found my place and introduced myself to the girl sitting next to me. It went something like this. Hi, I'm Grace. Yeah, the church's name is also Grace. No, I'm not named after the church. Well, I'm a freshman, etc. And she responded, following suit, Hi, my name is Haya, like the greeting or what you say when you karate chop. I'm a sophomore, etc. We shared a laugh, and right away we jumped into some small talk. But that evening, we had a goal of making more than small talk. Soon, we turned to the discussion questions found at the center of our table. The question that still sticks out in my mind today is, what is one value or belief within your religion that you hold close to your heart? It was Haya's turn to answer first, and without hesitation, she said, Oh, I have this quote on my wall. It reads, If a friend among your friends errs, make 70 excuses for him. If your hearts are unable to do this, then know that the shortcoming is in your own selves. She went on, explaining that this was a belief from Muslim literature, something that her parents had always tried to practice. And the way that I understand it, making 70 excuses for someone is another way of seeking to understand, a way of stepping into someone else's shoes, or a way of giving them the benefit of the doubt. It means that whenever you see someone making a different decision than you would, or handling a situation differently than you think you would, it's not our job to say, hey, that's not what I would do, or hey, that doesn't seem right, but instead to realize that we don't know what they've been through, we don't know what's going on in their lives, and we don't know their intentions. This sounded a lot like grace to me. And I think we learn to give grace to one another by looking at each other with mercy and concern instead of judgment and distaste. However you view and define grace, it's not easy to live a life where we consistently give it to others. In fact, I fall short every day. So let's be real for a second. Why should we give grace to others? Why should we be kind? And why make up 70 excuses for someone? Let me share a secret. You don't have to. I'm not going to follow you around and scold you every time you don't show someone grace. You don't have to be kind. You don't even have to tell the boy in front of you in class that his calculator fell out of his backpack if you don't want to. And you don't have to make up 70 excuses for someone that hurt you. In fact, most of us won't. But what if you did? What if you were the one to rise above? So many of us in this room, including myself, aspire to be part of something great in our lifetime, to make history, to change the world. Sometimes it seems impossible, given that we are just one person. By choosing grace, you can be a part of something greater every day. You can make history in someone's life, and you can change the way others view the world. All of our dreams, all of our goals, and all of our greatness start right here with how we treat people. Because it matters. When we listen to understand instead of listening to respond, when we could assume the worst but choose to assume the best, when we give one another the benefit of the doubt, when we forgive. This is when you and me begin to see the world through the eyes of grace.
But you will never walk